Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. Have a good crew going on tonight, but before I do that, I just want everybody to know that 108 Stitches Baseball Talk is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube. South Florida Tribune. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website's www.southfloridatribune.com, or you can find us on Twitter/X at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. My book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, should hopefully be out on Amazon probably by, we're estimating, Saturday. Looking forward to getting that book out and sharing you all the information. So with that said, let me introduce the crew. George Eichhorn, round two tonight. Join me on Inside the Pigskin. Here we go again. Here we go.
Yeah, round two. Talking baseball. Good to see you all.
And of course, K.R. Lombardi is going to be making his way over to Inside the Pigskin, probably going forward for a while until baseball heats up a little bit during the spring. He'll be on that show. I'm figuring at least twice a month, KR, but really one more round of baseball for you tonight. Glad to have you on here, KR.
Thanks, Scott. Good to be here.
And Jake, as always, welcome back, partner.
Good to be back, Scott.
And Mike, Big Mike, he's back. There you go.
Yep. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on? We're going to talk some baseball, Mike. That's what's going on. All right. We're going to talk about Craig Counsell. I want your reaction to the 5-year, $40 million plus deal with the Chicago Cubs. All of his coaches are under contract with Milwaukee, and Mark Antanasio said he ain't going to be getting any of those. But Counsell's record in 9 seasons was 707, 625, 531 winning percentage. He's above 5. Obviously above the 500 mark, 6 of the 9 seasons and 5 postseason berths. So, all right, George, Craig Counsell to Chicago has a weird feeling, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. I was quite surprised by that move. But, when you look at it in total perspective about this opportunity for him and whether there was, most of it was him pursuing it or most of it was the Cubs pursuing it. I don't know the percentage on either side, but it's really unusual when you see a manager in the same division and really arch rivals. Obviously, the Cubs and the Brewers have been. And I know that, he never won the championship with Milwaukee. He had some great teams there, though, and I know it's a huge loss for them. Yeah, it was quite a stunner. But at his point of his career, I think, he obviously sensed the fact that somebody else wanted to give him more money. And that obviously says a lot. It's a credit to him for his outstanding baseball managerial experience. But yeah, not being able to take any of his coaches, that's going to be a bit of a hurt for him.
His rivalry in I-94 got a bit more interesting, and not like the Brewers won't see him a few times a year, but they're going to be seeing him with a different set of threads. All right, KR, what's your take on this?
I was shocked when I read the paper this morning. I was just, Atanasio's not real happy about it. And, Counsell's a Milwaukee kid, born and raised there. I would think that, I don't know what's going through his head. I have no idea. Just strange that he would leave his hometown. That's like if, I don't know, I'm always shocked when people do that. Leave their hometown. Good organization. They've won. It's like if Cash left the Rays. He's born and raised in Tampa. He wouldn't leave. Strange, but baseball's never ceases to amaze me as it is anyway.
Well,
the other hires are crazy too, I thought.
What's that, KR?
I thought the other hires were crazy. Mendoza, Yankees bench coach to the Mets. I thought that was strange. And then Vogt, a first-year guy, Cleveland. I thought that was strange. There's other. I know they want to recycle. Some teams don't want to recycle, but I don't know. Just I was surprised when I picked up the paper this morning.
Well, Counsell's motivation was to reset the manager market in terms of what the monetary value is. And if indeed that was his point, he certainly got the money that he deserved working with a smaller market team. And yeah, I'll go with you there, KR, that Kevin Cash being with the Rays, but Kevin seems to be happy there anyways. I don't think
He
he
was
wants
happy.
anymore.
He's happy.
So I mean, let's face the reality. Kevin Cash, I don't know if will do statues for the Tampa Bay Rays, but if there is one, he'll definitely get one. So Kevin Cash to me is unbelievable. He really is.
He
Okay,
does a
Jake,
nice job. He does what the front office tells him to do.
and he does it well. So. All right, Jake.
Yeah, I thought Craig Counsell going to the Cubs was strange. Milwaukee fans clearly didn't like it. The stadium named after him close to Milwaukee got vandalized today. So clearly you can see how the fans are taking that one. And like you said earlier, Scott, that rivalry just heated up a bit more.
Yeah. Okay, Big Mike.
I guess for me, I always wonder what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, the money's great, the opportunity. I don't know if maybe he thought that they would release some of the coaches and let them take them with him, because that's the big thing is these managers are great, but they're only as good as the support system behind him. So I don't know if he has in mind some new guys he wants to bring in, and if he was under some bad, maybe he had bad information that Milwaukee was going to let some of the guys out of the contract as well. But it doesn't. Honestly, up front, it just doesn't look like a smart overall package. And I'm actually almost kind of surprised at the Cubs too, because if you're going to bring in a guy, either the Cubs knew that that what he had planned and what he has planned as far as his coaching staff, or maybe they're just as shocked as he was that they didn't get anybody else out of that deal. The reason I say that is these guys are, great minds, but they need the support system underneath them to make their systems work. So his system in Milwaukee seemed rock solid. I'm kind of surprised that he left, number one. But number two, having to rebuild a whole new staff of coaches behind it, it's not an easy thing to do, especially with the repertoire and the camaraderie you already had built. So it's an interesting move. Yes, it does, serve up the nice spicy rivalry for you now. You're going to have to see them. It'll be interesting to see the first time they clash. And like Jake said, the fan base is obviously pissed off with the outcry that they did today with defaming his namesake of a stadium. So I don't know. Up front, to me, it's a very strange move. But again, we may not know everything going on behind the scenes as well.
It's true. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind David Ross is going to get another opportunity somewhere. He had some decent success there, but let's face the reality, Craig Counsell did a lot in a small market team, and that certainly enhances value. Can you only imagine what it's going to like when he's a bigger payroll? That's the only thing that you wonder about now. You're going to have all the resources you need financially to take it to the next level. And let's not forget that Craig Counsell did win 2 World Series titles as a player, both with the Florida Marlins at the time and the Arizona Diamondbacks, which were relatively new franchises. So, all right, George, this topic, you won't have to bring up a Detroit topic. I'm going to do it for you for a change. Eduardo Rodriguez, 30. Obviously, he went out there and opted out of his contract. So, to me, he leaves $49 million on the table. So, is it a big loss for the Detroit Tigers? His record is 13-9, 3.30 earned run average in 26 starts. And, might as well let you lead off with this one, George.
Well, thank you. Personally speaking, I think it is a loss. I think a lot of people are putting spin on it here in Detroit and not saying it's much of a loss. But the important thing is going to be, can they go out there and get somebody of equal or even greater value to anchor the starting staff, a veteran? Because the young kids that they're going to have there in the starting rotation are good, but Rodriguez was obviously a big step above them. And I know he was hurt a lot this year, but nobody was surprised that he opted out. I mean, I really wish he would have stayed, but obviously he's going to go into a situation probably with a better chance to win, maybe with a team that obviously has a stronger chance to get to the World Series. But the Tigers had a good year with him, and they hope for better things next year. He's not a Cy Young Award winner or anything like that, but the sting is still there from all the pitchers that have left this town, especially Verlander and Scherzer. So, personally speaking, I'm going to miss him, but it'll be important to see what Scott Harris, the president, can do as far as picking up a veteran starter.
KR?
I don't have any comment on that. Scott. Just, I exactly what George is saying.
Okay, fair enough. Jake?
It is a loss. I believe in the Tigers' young pitchers maybe a little bit more than George. Casey Mize gets to pitch a full season since he came off of Tommy John. But Eduardo Rodriguez was one of the more reliable starters in the league. And if you remember at the trade deadline, he employed his no trade clause because there were teams out there that wanted him. But I think it is somewhat of a loss, but I think these young pitchers have a lot of potential for the Tigers.
Okay. Big Mike?
I think it's a loss. Not only do you lose one of your more reliable guys, but it speaks volumes. I think the loss is even multiplied by what he did at the trade deadline, by kind of giving you the inspiration that, hey, I don't want to be traded. I want to be with the staff, and then opting out of $49 million at the end of the year.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see what the numbers come back when he goes to another team and gets signed. But the thing about it is, for me, it's a bad look for Detroit, because either Detroit got hoodwinked into thinking he was staying. So with him opting the no trade clause, kind of gave the indication that, hey, he's going to pick up his option. We're going to have him at least for one more year. This way we can go ahead and bring up Mize and these guys, get them enough innings under their belt that we can go ahead and sign, like you said, a mid-level veteran if he does leave after the next year. So now I think you kind of, maybe not scramble mode, but it's definitely a direction that I don't think Detroit thought they were going to have to go to in picking up another arm in the offseason, especially when the $49 million was on the table. I don't think you would think a guy would just walk away from that unless his agent, maybe something we don't know, there's a deal in place that, hey, you walk away. We've got 3 or 4 suitors that are going to play you that plus. So it's a loss in the sense that I think it hurts them short term. Long term, I think Detroit's young arms are going to be good enough to pick up the slack, but you're going to have to find a mid-level veteran to go ahead and anchor that starting rotation, just to give them some security and some, a solid start here and there to make sure that it's not all on the shoulders of the young guys all the time.
If I recall correctly, and George, you'd probably be able to refresh my memory, he didn't have that great of a year that first year he was in Detroit. Didn't he have all kinds of different problems?
Yeah.
So all you really had was a 1-year sample size, and he knew he took the money when he had the 1 year to try to renegotiate, try to get more money. I think there's as much risk on Eduardo Rodriguez more so than the Tigers, because he only had 1 year. 13-9, I get that. Okay. So I'm not going to say it's as big a loss as most people think. And I do think the Tigers will do their due diligence looking for a veteran arm or two to try to take his place. Now, if he had 2 good years, I would be drinking the Kool-Aid, okay, that it would be a bigger loss than it appears. But I'm going by a 1-year sample size, and like Big Mike just mentioned, $49 million left on the table. That, to me, is a big variable. If it were more than that, less, then that's where my opinion gets influenced either way. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is a major loss after one productive season. I'm not going there. I'll do what you said, George. I'll trust Scott Harris to find a suitable replacement. And you know what? That Scott Harris is very intelligent to begin with. I'm sure he's been thinking about both scenarios anyway. So I'll believe in Scott Harris before I sit here and believe in Eduardo Rodriguez. Okay. So let's talk about the World Series. 9 inning games average, fastest time since 1996. 3 hours and 1 minute. The postseason was actually at 3 hours and 2 minutes, down from 3:23 last year and 3:37 in 2021. Well, let's face the reality. The pitch clock is doing its job, isn't it, George?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I think you can thank that pitch clock to those times, because don't forget, there's a lot of commercials and a lot of ads. Obviously, they got to pay deep pockets here to pay for advertisements during the World Series. So that wasn't going to change at all. But you're right on that. The pitch clock is what had to do with those minutes being shaved off. I think it was not an attraction. Let's face it, guys. 2 Southern teams, Southwest, not far from each other, Arizona and Texas. I mean, you're talking about a more regional matchup than obviously Manfred or anybody in the front office hoped for in Major League Baseball. But hats off to the Rangers. They had a fantastic season and obviously did a great job in winning that World Series. But I'm always happy to see when time is shaved off a little bit, because those games go so late at night. Especially the young fans are, they're already in bed. A lot of them, most people in the Eastern time zone, they got to get up to work the next day. A lot of them miss the end of those games when they're going so late in the evening. So, yeah, I'm glad that was shaved off some of that time.
All right, KR, what are your thoughts?
I agree. There's only two things I don't like: the runner at second base in the 10th inning, and throwing over to first base. You throw over 3 times, they nail you. I don't like that. I like the speed up rule of the pitches. I think Texas is built to win again, and sort of like the Astros were. But in Major League Baseball, I don't think you can really predict that, because wild card teams getting in, but they got Seaman, they got, Seager, they got a hell of a club. He's done a great job. So they're built for longevity. Will they do it again? I wouldn't bet on them, but I wouldn't bet against them either. So you can tell I'm not a gambling man. But we'll see in the offseason.
Yeah, you know what, KR? I agree. The Ghost Runner to me is a joke.
That's slow pitch.
Yeah, I don't like it. I have zero interest in it. But in terms of the pitch clock, that's one thing Rob Manfred definitely did get right.
Casey Stengel and John McGraw are flipping in their graves with this runner at second base.
No kidding. I'm with you. Okay, Jake.
Yeah, the pitch clock is definitely working. And in regard to the fans, attendance was up 9.6% this year in comparison to last year. So obviously the fans are enjoying it too. And I'm in agreement with KR about the runner on second base in extra innings. I hate it. When I was playing, even when I was growing up playing baseball, we never had any of that, and I hate it. I don't like it at all. I think they should get rid of it. But in regard to the pitch clock, it's definitely working. I personally think it's great for baseball.
Well, I mean, I grew into I wasn't crazy about the pitch clock right away either. But as I went to games with the Miami Marlins and I saw it, and I began to see that it wasn't as big a deal, then it grew on me. With that said, I'll turn over to Big Mike.
Yeah, the pitch clock. The only scary thing to me is the pitch clock worked. So to me, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's the tampering of the game where we kind of get into, okay, so what's good for the game, what's bad for the game. KR and I we've been outwardly outspoken about how much we hate the ghost runner garbage at second base and extra innings. To me, hey, you've got the pace. The pace of play this year was amazing. And granted, I'm not a real fan of the amount of throws. You can't. Stolen bases is up an amazing amount because you can't keep the runner on as much anymore. As long as that doesn't completely break open the pace of play, I'm fine with that. But the problem to me is the double-edged sword part is, okay, hey, these tweaks we're making, these worked. And it kind of overshadows the fact that, hey, the ghost runner needs to go. Look, we sped up the pace of play. Are you going to have 5 games during the regular season that may go an extra 30 minutes? Great. But the actual everyday, day-to-day pace of play is now sped up that you can get rid of the ghost runner. And if a game goes long here or there, it shouldn't be a big deal anymore. Because I think that's what they were trying to do. All these rules were to speed up the pace of play and keep you from having to go so deep and so late. Well, you've shaved off, 20-plus minutes of a game? Get the guy off of second base. Let the guys play out the games. Don't shorten the games. Don't shorten the records. Because again, okay, so where do we put the asterisk into wins? A team that has 10 wins that they go into extra innings and win because the guy's on second base. How do you look at that versus the longevity of the game? The other 2 rules with the pitch clock and the throwing over to first, yeah, you might get an extra stolen base here or there, but it doesn't really have an effect in the outcome of the game the way the ghost runner does. So I love the pace of play this year. The pace of play in the playoffs, it was definitely obvious, the pace of play in the playoffs and the World Series. It sped everything up. So I'm all about that. I just hope they don't look at it and go, okay, well, we did these tweaks and they worked. What can we do next? Either the only thing left to do, and if they ever do it, is robo-ump, and that's where it's got to stop. These tweaks here and there, the fundamental basis of the game's still good. Anybody who wants to be a baseball fan and watch it's still going to watch. Did you speed it up a little bit for the ADD generation? Great. But now it's where it needs to be. Get rid of the ghost runner, keep the pitch clock, and let's play ball.
Yeah, I wish you were the commissioner. That's all I'll say to end this segment because you have some pretty good ideas there. All right, next topic. Reds declined Joey Votto's $20 million option for 2024. That option earned him $7 million buyout for the 17-year veteran. So George Eichor, where do you see him landing?
Well, that's a good question, Scott. I mean, Joey had a nice career, obviously, with the Reds. Good ball player, solid. Obviously, his skills are not where they were when he was younger, but I don't know. I think for sure he would want to go to a contender, the Cubs or the Yankees or perhaps the Dodgers. But he's still valuable. He can still hit. I really, really think that it was wise for him to move on, though. And as hard as that is, when you're loved so much like he was loved in Cincinnati. But I would say definitely he'd be looking at a contending team right now.
What do you think, KR?
Was he 39? Joey Votto, 30. Is he 39 years old?
He's getting up there. I'm not sure exactly.
I thought he was 37, isn't he?
I think he was 37 or 38, I thought.
Yeah.
He's getting up there, and his time's getting short. So I would think, like George says, he's going to go to contender. I thought the Reds would keep him. I really thought the Reds would keep him. I thought he'd stay with him. He'd been there so long. But, and I'm an old guy, the idea of loyalty is out the window now. They don't.
Yeah.
They're ready to take a little bit less money and stay. They won't do that. They're looking for the big payday. Like you didn't make any money, right?
Well, I mean, I guess maybe we ought to subtitle this show "Loyalty," because we've got two instances where the Reds didn't want Votto, right? Let him go. And meanwhile, Counsell didn't want the Brewers. So, I mean.
Scott, he's actually 40. I couldn't believe it. I looked at.
Is he 40?
Yeah, he's 40.
He's on his last leg, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned. We'll have another segment about where Joey Votto lands when we find out. So, okay, Jake.
I wish Joey Votto would have won more with the Reds. I think the last time they made the postseason was 2012, and he never really won much there. I grew up watching him. He's one of my favorite players. I played first base as a kid, and he was one of my idols. 6-time All-Star with the Reds, 2010 NL MVP. He had a great career there. I know his time's coming to an end soon, though. He's getting up there in age. But I hope he goes to a contender so he can win.
Okay, Big Mike.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by the move of just letting him go. I almost wonder, I'd love to be a fly on the wall if they walked in and said, hey, look, this is your choice. We either cut the contract, we either renegotiate the contract in half, you take $10 million for 1 year, you retire as a Red, or we're going to let you go so you can go try and get it. I think more so, as much as I'd like to say it's not a loyalty thing, I almost think it is a loyalty thing. I almost think the Reds did him a favor and said, hey, look, we're really young. Who the hell knows if we make the playoffs next year? We're trending in the right direction. But you know what? You've been so loyal to us. Let us cut you free. You go sign with, honestly, you know what a team I'd love to see him sign with is the Braves. I'd love to see Votto go to the Braves, even platoon at first base, be a DH when they play against the American League. Find him a spot on that roster. Let him contend for a title. And then what you do is he plays it wherever he lands next for a year or two, for half of what he got paid, and then they go ahead and sign him to that fun one-day contract to come back and retire as a Red. So I look at it almost as, like I said, either the Reds went to him and said, hey, in order to stay here for the next year and be part of the young team, we're going to have to cut the salary, or we'll release you, let you go somewhere. And hey, when you're done with your career, come back to us for like the ceremonial one-day contract and you can retire as a Red. So good on him, because I think in the end, this is more of a move to let him try and go grab a title before he's out. I thought he was 38, 37. So if he's 40, like you said, KR, he's probably in his last year, maybe 2 at the absolute max. So maybe the Reds threw him a bone that we weren't, when you don't first look at it. I think we all look at it as, oh, a guy's leaving. He's been there forever. Let's let him retire as a Red. I think the Reds are smart enough to know if they're going to contend next year, they're going to be a wild card team. They're still a piece or two or a piece or two away from being an actual full-time contender. So let him go grab a title. Joey Votto, wherever you land, I'm going to be a fan. I'm going to root for you either way. So hopefully you don't land with the Dodgers, because that's one team I have a hard time rooting for.
Well, you know what? I'll throw 2 out there that I think would be interesting. One, the Toronto Blue Jays, because you don't know what's going to happen in free agency with them. So we'll see what players come back versus what the other one. Believe it or not, they only had an 82 and 80 record. You think the New York Yankees could find room for him? I think they can.
He can DH. I mean,
Yeah, you can exactly. Yeah. So I could see him landing with the Yankees or the Blue Jays.
He's a better player than Stanton.
What's that?
He's a better player than Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah.
I can't stand
agree
watching.
with that.
I'm a Yankee fan. I can't stand watching Stanton play anymore. I wish they'd get rid of him.
We'll see. I'm just throwing some possibilities out there. We'll see. I'm not telling you that. Go ahead and bet on where I think this guy is going to go. I've lived in his business with hunches and instincts, and you go from there and see what happens. So I don't know, but I like what Mike said. At some point he's going to sign that 1-day contract or retire his number, and then the guy will be in the Reds Hall of Fame, and that's only bidding that's going to end up that way anyhow.
Yeah.
Jake, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you really look at who the Yankees sign a lot of veterans. They like to have veterans in the clubhouse. So I think the Yankees could be a good possibility for Joey Votto.
There you go. Yeah, you just helped me make my point. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'm leaving it open for everybody. Any parting shots? George?
Well, parting shots. Yeah, again, it's going to be interesting, that Hall of Fame balloting for we talked a little bit about it on our last show, but here's two guys I would like to see one of them make it. Joe West and Ed Montague. Two former National League umpires, now of course Major League umpires when the leagues went to the same umpire alignment under one umbrella. Joe was Cowboy Joe. Joe was the center of attention. Joe was a fun-loving guy who really enjoyed umpiring. Did he make mistakes? Yes. So they all make mistakes, but everybody seemed to like Banjo or Texan Cowboy Joe, whatever you wanted to call him. Now, Ed Montague, another guy who's steady guy, been in the league a long, long time, no nonsense kind of guy, went about and did his stuff like a professional. I was kind of surprised they had two umpires on the list, but still, it'll be very interesting to see if an umpire gets picked. This is going to be a very tough ballot because of, Jimmy Leland's on it and Cito Gaston. And we talked about the managers last time, Lou Piniella. And of course, there's players on this ballot, this committee that makes all the recommendations. But if I was a betting man, I wouldn't count Joe West out. I really wouldn't, because he certainly had, to me, a Hall of Fame career.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hello, Ralph Williams. Thanks for coming on tonight. Okay, KR, what do you got?
I agree with George. I think Montague and West should get in. Of course, guys know I'm pulling for Piniella. Lou's getting up there in age. His health wasn't good. I think nobody has really said anything, but I think he's okay now. I don't know if you all know about La Russa.
Yeah.
La Russa had cancer, and it looks like he's clear now. But Lou, I thought Lou should have been in a long time ago. I thought he was a hell of a manager. But I'm prejudiced. I'm not the person to ask.
But do you have any parting shots of your own that you talk about the game in general, KR?
Major League Baseball, I can't wait for college baseball to start because I'm a college baseball guy. Major League Baseball is never going to – I just can't stand all these analytics and, they don't bunt people over first and second, nobody out. I mean, I wish they'd go back to the old way of doing things. Because I watch it and I'll get disgusted and flip the channel. I'm not even watching. That's why I'm not as well versed about people as you guys are, because I get disgusted when I watch it. I just don't like the way they play the game. I don't like the analytic part. I like some of it. I had pitching charts when I was a coach and things like that, but I think that they take it to another level where you got to coach by the seat of your pants a little bit, and they don't. But
that's fair enough. You coach it. Your fair, valid opinion.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't. If I was a manager in the big leagues and they're calling me down there telling me what to do, I take my stuff off and tell them, you guys manage the team. I'm not doing this.
Well, I don't think there's probably a few managers that probably got out of it thinking the same way you did.
Well, did you hear what Dusty Baker said?
What's that?
About Dusty said, I'm not going to manage anymore, but I think I'm valuable to this team because I have been in the game a long time and I played the game, unlike some people that haven't played the game. And that was a shot at the front offices.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I'm not a big Dusty Baker fan, but he was right.
Yep.
He's right.
Good points. All right, Jake, what's your parting shot?
One under the radar hire that I want to highlight is Rays GM Peter Bendix joining the Marlins, because the Marlins haven't really drafted position players as well as I thought. So I think getting someone from the Rays who they're very good at developing talent, I think that's a huge win for the Marlins.
Great point. Okay, Big Mike, what do you have?
Well, I'm going to take my parting shot at MLB, and on behalf of all the teams that work hard to become a number one seed going in the playoffs, I think this playoffs more than any other highlighted one thing: the scheduling for teams that work 162 games to finish in first place needs to be fixed. Granted, it was great to see two teams playing with house money. Loved the fact that both of those teams made it between the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, but Major League Baseball is hindering the number one teams by having the giant break between when they start and when everybody else starts the playoffs. These teams are in rhythm going to the playoffs. They work 162 games to be the number one seed, because it almost to a point, why do you expend the energy anymore? Because these guys have no rhythm once they get to the playoffs. The rotation's thrown off by the delay. The guys seeing the baseball now have to readjust again. So MLB needs to take a good hard look. Was it good because it garnered intrigue this year? You had teams playing that nobody would have picked. I mean, hell, the Rangers were the longest odds in Major League Baseball history to win the World Series going into the season this year in the last 20 plus years. So it was great to see. And for a baseball purist, the World Series was great. For a casual fan, a lot of people weren't going to turn in. There was no glitz and glamour between the Diamondbacks or the Rangers. So if I'm a GM of a team that finished in first place, if I'm the Orioles, the Braves, the Dodgers, I would really be going to Major League Baseball and saying, hey, you are hamstringing us by making us have a delay. My guys work 162 games. This isn't football. I don't need 10 days off so my guys can heal up and be ready for the playoffs. I don't need a guy who's got a sore leg who wants to go out and shoot jumpers. I don't need this delay. I need my guys to get into the rhythm of the playoffs as soon as possible. So that's my parting shot. That's the only thing from this year besides the Ghost Runner shenanigans that I see that needs to be fixed, is that the MLB is hamstringing their number one teams going into playoffs by having such a large break. And if they can figure out a way to reschedule it, reformat it, I think it'll only make the playoffs better.
Well, I'll probably look at all the numbers, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them tweak that playoff format. They'll take feedback coming from different areas. My parting shot's an easy one. Bruce Bochy, what a year a difference a manager makes. Bruce Bochy came out of retirement to take the Texas Rangers job. Think about it. 3 years after this team lost over 100 games, and now he's a world champion. So, Jerry Jones, take note. Okay, you need to do that. Take note. Take note. Texas Rangers are king of Arlington, and Jerry, take a drive down the parking lot, get a few pointers.
Yeah.
And make sure you hire the right guy leading it. Mike McCarthy's good, but Bruce Bochy's got 4 championships.
Can I say one thing? By
all means, go ahead.
Not only, I will tell you this, not only is the hire right, but when you hear guys like Seager, guys that have been in the league that literally came out and said the difference this year was leadership. And so guys like Seager that signed on knowing that Bochy was coming on, that should tell you something right there. Seager could have gone anywhere. And a lot of people looked at Seager like he was crazy for all the offers he had to go to Texas of all teams. And Seager came out and said it. They had the best plan in place. Yeah, are we ahead of schedule? Great. But he wasn't surprised. He said with the way the team was being run, when he got in the clubhouse and was around the team, he knew this is something that was possible. So, yeah, it's just crazy that when you get that person in there who can go ahead and manage a team, and like you said, KR, he's that old school mentality. Does he take analytics in his ear a little bit? Yeah, but he manages by feel. So it says something to a team that, hey, the analytics are great, but you need somebody for a feel for the game. And hats off to Bruce Bochy, because you're exactly right, Scott. Who would have thought when he took this job, he knew something we didn't and saw something we didn't. So hats off to Bruce Bochy once again.
Well, Let me tell you something about Bruce Bochy. He's not going to care about analytics. All he has is 4 championship rings. So you think he really, frankly, cares? I don't
He,
think so.
he just rings them in everybody's ear. Do you hear the sound? You hear that sound?
Right. Well, there you go, Mike.
When you talk about a ticket to Cooperstown, he's already punched that ticket.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
But you know what? My heart's with you, KR. I hope Lou Piniella does get in. I really, really do. And, I feel like I have a Tampa part inside of me as well.
Sure.
Because obviously when I spent time with you, Coach Eddie Cartieri, Pop Quest, and the rest of those people out there, and having covered baseball in the Tampa area like I did for the Tampa Tribune, I know what a rich baseball history it has. So hope Lou gets in, but Bruce Bochy is a lock when his time comes. But what a year a difference makes when it comes to bringing in Bruce Bochy. And the best of all, the Texas Rangers got their title, and Jerry Jones hasn't even put Jimmy Johnson in his Ring of Honor, and he hasn't even given him the respect because Jimmy built the team that Jerry has the rings. Go figure, maybe a little bit of a football twang in there a little bit, but we'll always want to leave you with a lasting note, and that's it. So we got Mike McCarthy, and we have Bruce Bochy. Who do you got? I don't think that's hard. Exactly. So meanwhile, that concludes this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. So with that said, we'll let George Eichhorn let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Yeah, you can get a hold of me and my book at the South Florida Tribune. I write for the Motor City Tribune. At the end of my column, you'll see a link to purchase Detroit's sports broadcasters on the air. And Scott's in the book, too. He's a great interviewer, and I've known that for so many years, being associated with you, Scott, 44 years and counting. And you have Ali and Jimmy Connors among 2 of your great interviews, and you've done so many. So all that being said, you can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com, or LinkedIn. You can reach me under my name. And then on Twitter, X, it's called Sand2G Sports 99. Find me here. Find me at the football show, Inside the Pigskin, Pundit's Pundit, the Sports Exchange, wherever Scott needs me. I'm glad to be part of this show with all you guys tonight as well.
All right, KR Lombardia.
Facebook, Instagram. I'm not famous like George. I don't write books.
I wish I was, KR.
No, but KR, you're about to be in one, and I'll tell you in a minute. All right, is that all you got? Facebook?
That's it. That's it.
Good enough. All right, Jake.
You can find me on Instagram at Jake_Walker729. I write for FL Teams. That's FL Teams on X and Instagram. And on X, I'm JWalk729.
Well done. I'll tell you what. I'll say this: watching you, you're an up and comer on this network, and you're doing a whale of a job. Proud of the development you have, and I can only see your upside. Just nothing but incredible. Okay, go ahead, Big Mike.
The easiest way to get a hold of me is on Twitter or X at CalL99. So go ahead and hit me up on X, and I'll be on here when we've got one more show left for 108 Stitches, and then you'll see me on the Sports Exchange.
Correct. Took the words out of my mouth. And again, a guy probably seen my voice getting a little hoarse anyways. But have enough to say that 108 Stitches Baseball Talk is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Websites www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter/X at Tribune South. Candy Ebling behind the scenes. My book, Lessons from the Microphone, should be out hopefully by the end of the week or by the end of the weekend at the latest. But Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. Great job, every one of y'all. Appreciate it. We do have one more baseball show next week, and then we'll be doing it twice a month. So we'll be able to keep everybody up to date on the hot stove developments during the offseason. KR Lombardia will be making his appearance going forward on Inside the Pigskin, talking college football, regular world football. And then he'll be obviously on here probably, when we need him, but more likely after the first of the year when baseball starts to get going again. But KR is a great asset to what we do. He knows the game real well, and he's certainly seen it on all levels, being a successful high school coach like he has been, in addition to knowing the college game well, and his insights with the pros is MLB is even better. So he's a well-rounded individual that knows the game, and I consider him our best kept secret on the network, and we're glad to have him on. And like I said, KR Lombardia is in the book, so he'll find out soon enough in George Eichhorn. And my goal is when I write my next book that Mike and Jake Walker will be in the next one. So that's what we're striving for here. So meanwhile, on behalf of George, KR, Jake, Big Mike, my name is Scott Morgan, Route to Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. We will catch you the next time. Good night, everybody.